John's demands.
This is ABC News Nightline. Reporting from Washington, Ted Koppel.
Good evening. The focus of our broadcast tonight was and remains the situation in Poland. But late this evening, one of the world's great entertainers and musicians, John Lennon of the Beatles, was shot outside his New York home. So we begin tonight by bringing you up to date on that story. John Lennon was shot 3 times at around 11 p.m. Eastern Time. He was rushed to New York's Roosevelt Hospital, but died a few minutes later. Police have a suspect in custody whom they describe only as a local screwball. More now from Roseanne Scamadella in New York with a background report on John Lennon.
Lennon was born in the tough industrial town of Liverpool, England. He met up with George Harrison in 1958, Paul McCartney in 1959, Ringo Starr a few years later, and the rest is history. The Beatles' sound was unique and captured the public's imagination. The group would sell more #1 records in the 60s than any other. In the 70s, Lennon performed as a solo artist with more success. Ironically, Lennon's death came at a time when he was making a comeback. He had just recorded his first record in 5 years.
Standing by now in our studios in New York is Geraldo Rivera, who has covered John Lennon both as a personality and an artist for many years now, and saw him last just 6 weeks ago. Geraldo?
Thank you very much, Ted. Roseanne mentioned that the most tragic aspect of this terrible thing is the ironic thing about the fact that John Lennon was back. John Lennon, after a 5-year absence, was finally back in the studios, had finally released a record album that was receiving general acclamation from the fans. He was back not as the philosopher Lennon, not as the political Lennon, not as the Lennon who makes a lot of domestic news for his style and flamboyance, but rather as the musician. That's how we got to know him initially, as a great musician and lyricist, as a person who, as one of the cornerstones of one of the most incredible musical units in the history of the planet, changed the course of rock and roll, changed the course of many of our lives, set the tone and style, I think it's fair to say, for the late 60s, right up until the group broke up. It's more than 10 years since the Beatles broke up, and there